Rosh Chodesh Tov.
Yes, very special day. You find nearly all the passages in the Chumash are connected one with the other, even the books of the Chumash. And the connection comes in the text to a hook, a vav, because a vav in Hebrew of the Bible means a hook, and a vav also has the shape of a hook, because it refers to the flow of time. You can't really separate time. It's continuous, a continuous stream of time. But today's Rosh Chodesh is mentioned when we read this passage on Shavuot. So it begins like this. You know, while the book of Shemot, which follows the book of Bereshit, is about Eile Shemot Benis, and these are the names of the people of Israel. But this 20th chapter of Exodus doesn't have a vav. It says, V'chodesh hashlishi, V'tzeit b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. The third month, it doesn't say and, it says the third month, from the time the people of Israel went out from Egypt, Vayom Hazeh, on this day, they came to the desert of Sinai. The sage asked the question grammatically, it should say, Vayom Ahu, on that day. No, it says this day. Why it says this day? Because it starts something entirely new today. The third month has special significance, I won't go into all that, but it wants to tell us that at the beginning of the month of Sivan, when the Torah was given, it was even not so clear whether it was given on the 6th or the 7th of Sinai. So it wants to emphasize this day, Yom Hazeh. Why isn't the date of the giving of the Torah mentioned clearly in the Torah? Because a person shouldn't think, so one day in the year I'll have to study the Torah. The rest of the year, not so important. By Yom Hazeh, the sages say means, whichever day you're at, you have to receive the Torah and study it. Any time the person studies the Torah, what does he really do? Even he studies a piece of Gemara. So that discussion, the Gemara, generally speaking, goes back to the discussions of the sages of Babylon and the Babylonian time. They in turn are based on the discussions which took place amongst the Tanaim, who lived in the time of the Mishnah. And those in turn go back to the men of the Great Assembly. Everything was transmitted orally, but there had to be a live Torah, not the Torah you put in a book, and the book gathers dust in the libraries, or even in the Sefer Torah, which might be kept without dust, but it's kept most of the time in the Holy Ark, and it's not studied by the people. That's why it has to be learned by heart and passed on from one generation to the next. And every day, a person who is Jewish reaccepts the Torah, he becomes united in soul with the Torah of Hashem. And even the sages say, Sheyu beinecha kachadashot. Chadashot in modern Hebrew means the latest news. And there are many people who spend their time listening or viewing on screen or reading the latest news. Sometimes half the day goes and people want to find out what's the latest news. What lies behind this? The human being, one of his greatest instincts, which goes the wrong way often, is curiosity. Sometimes it's the deepest motivation of human being. The question is, what you explore, what you like to explore. I like to explore even all physical desires, not so satisfied what happens to come to them. Person likes to go try different things. When it comes also to amassing wealth, trying different things, but also out of curiosity leads people to search for the truth, for the real truth, and for the absolute truth sometimes. These I try to understand what's the purpose of my life, what's the purpose of the world around me, why did I come into this world, and why did this world come into existence? That all comes from curiosity. Without curiosity, probably it wouldn't be possible to learn anything properly. So this is by Yom Hazeh. But now, it's not fair. At first I want to answer any questions. If you have any, please. What I'll ask you is make the questions loud and short.
Why does in the Parshat of Shavuot, the Nazir, when he's finished his Nazir, he has to bring his hair, and he has to bring a sin offering. But why does he have to bring a sin offering? He hasn't done anything wrong.
The sages say that what he did wrong was that he took a vow of abstinence. He took a vow he's not drinking any wine. It's considered a sin. But Hashem wants us to enjoy all the things in this world. Only He wants us to enjoy them and recognize they come from Hashem and should be used to praise Hashem, which is the basis of a bracha, we say. We say that the brachot, we say, the brachot, we have different enjoyments, different tastes. So we make different brachot on different types of food to express our thanksgiving to Hashem for giving us the variety, and thereby increasing the scope of praising Hashem. The sages say, the heavens belong to Hashem, and the earth is given over to human beings. But He only gave over to human beings after they have a password, like we have to do many. They often use a password to get somewhere, a passport, to get from one country to the other. Similarly, there's another verse which says that the earth and all that fills it belongs to Hashem. And this verse says, no, He gave the earth to man. So, contradiction. They say very simple. Before a person made the blessing of the password, he thinks it's there just for him to have fun, and he doesn't need to think of who gives the food and what he gives it for. That's why we have the brachot. The brachot teach us that in every aspect of material life, we should introduce the spiritual source of material life and the moral channels we have to set up, that material life should not make us into animals with intelligence, but make us high human beings, carrying on our divine image. Well, that's the basic reason. Any other questions?
What about for the Goyim? The Goyim, since they don't have to say a blessing over the food, how do they praise Hashem? Do they just do tithing or?
Well, Ben Noach, certainly, a person who wants to keep the Noachide code, it included also to choose some form of thanksgiving to God, and when some of the nations of the world have taken it from us. Mm-hmm. And Islam, Christianity, they say blessings on food, grace after meal, before meal. Yes.
Previously, in a previous year, you spoke about, the significance of number 7 and the number 50. And then there was a multiplication of 7 times 50, and then 350 times another 7, 24, 50, etc., etc.
Yes.
Could you explain the significance of the first step, the second, and why not 7 times 50 indefinitely? How does the numerology work?
Well, it's just that.
What is the significance of it? What are
Well, we have to. I'll explain it again. We've frequently spoken about it, but maybe since we're in the middle of a text which describes this, I think we should use the. Can one of you pass me that sheet which I gave out? We've also got the same sheet. So we were in the middle of this yesterday, so I might as well complete it and show you one of the aspects of 7. We have passed through many aspects already, which are hinted at also in this section, which I gave here to everybody. So I'll go back to it. If you go now, yesterday we spoke about the concept of Shabbat and Shabbaton. The Shabbat, which is every 7th day, is the concept of the harmony of the universe. And the Shabbaton, what we spoke about yesterday, about the eye which has in it the dwarf image of the man, so that's called a Shabbaton, therefore refers to the festivals, some of which also run over a period of 7 days, like on Pesach. So the concept of 7 in Hebrew, Sheva, and which has a certain relationship to the word Shabbat and Shabbaton, is crude, is to understand the designer from the design. And the designs we find in nature, they follow 7. In the natural world, there are many aspects of 7. You all know 7 notes of the octave, and 7 colors of the spectrum, 7 cycles of the renewal of the cells of the human body, which in the average life, the substance is renewed every 7 times in the average life. Even there are many different aspects to this. But the whole concept behind it is a concept of harmony. The pattern in the world, and the same pattern occurs in the Torah, in every aspect of the Torah. We see it in the menorah, and we see it in the repetition of key words 7 times, and many other areas. So here, just in the middle of this deep insight, we find what the difference between a Shabbat, which is fixed, in other words, the word of nature demonstrates, Shabbat ve'inafash, that there is a soul in the universe, or let's say like some scientists today, read the introduction, they say, science is to find out the mind of the universe. And I've even explained this also on what's called an epistemological aspect in the world of philosophy. Namely that our senses, they give us a 3-dimensional world of space and objects. 3 dimensions are 6 directions. But what is the true object? The true object is not what I observe in one go. It's to add up in my mind the different aspects of physical objects. Because I look at physical objects and I want to know what it really is, I've got to look at it from every angle, in the 6 directions. I look at it from 6 directions, I build up an image in my mind, abstract, which is really the true table, let's say. True table, not what you see. It's the addition of different views of the table. I add them all up together in my mind, not in and I observe them in my mind, one after the other. Then I add them together, and then I've got the true picture of the table. The same applies to everything else in the world of space. And in the Tanakh, actually, the world of space is described according to the measurement of time. In other words, this concept, subconsciously, Albert Einstein has incorporated into his concept of the time-space continuum what's already mentioned in the Chumash. It really says that the time is dimension of space. And it's called time-space continuum. And that's why, even in the language, we know that Greek and Latin, many other languages, the basic word is the object. But in the Tanakh, the basic word is a verb. All nouns in Hebrew, the Tanakh, are based upon activities, upon verbal forms. Verb, because the Torah tells us that the world of objects doesn't exist by itself. It exists through the word of Hashem, through the will of Hashem, through the action of Hashem. In other words, it is a product of what's called today by science continuous creation. So there, the world of space is continuously being created. That means the basis of the objective world in space is the dynamics of time. That's a basic principle. Anyway, we see that I want to illustrate this from the fact of Shabbaton. As we see in the Tanakh, the ending of on at the end always demonstrates something smaller and weaker. So we explain the Shabbat is fixed, but the Moadim, the festivals, they are the spiritual power of the people of Israel. That we have to work with our spiritual power to meet Hashem, to meet the emanation it gives from above. And that is why the word Shabbat is used by itself exclusively for the 7th day of the week. So a question arises why when we count the Omer in the Chumash, it calls the first day of Pesach the Shabbat, Mochat HaShabbat, which, as we explained, this was a source of the Sadducees, the Tzedukim's interpretation that it means Mochat HaShabbat is day after Shabbat, means Sunday. So they said, we don't count the 50 days from the first day of Pesach, we've got to count it from the first Sunday after Pesach, whichever day of the week, whichever date it comes to. The first Sunday after Pesach is when you start counting, when you have to bring the Omer. And so, of course, but we have a tradition now. Here, Shabbat by Pesach refers to Pesach itself, even if it's not Shabbat. Why is this? So therefore, it says here these words. Why does it say Mochat HaShabbat? Because in other places, in Yeshua, for example, it says Mochat HaPesach Yatzu B'nei Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim. They went out after Pesach, the day after the first day of Pesach, which is also called a Shabbat, in which instance when it's connected specifically with counting the Omer, or bringing the Omer offering. Ki Yom Yetziat Mitzrayim Mofia Bo Be'etzem Kedushat Shabbat Mile'ela. Because the sages say the night of Pesach is Leil Shimurim. It's a night of which has been watched over. What means Shimurim? Gemara says it means Hameshuma Uva Mishesh Vibration. In other words, that night of Pesach was preserved to bring a divine emanation from above from the 6 days of creation. It was already prepared then. So therefore it links up with the original Shabbat. So let's try to understand this. First, the way in which we illustrated this already is through a different type of blessing. We say, let's say on Rosh Chodesh, and we say on Yom Tov. Today we said on Rosh Chodesh Musaf, we said Mekadesh Yisrael v'Rashi Chadashim. Hashem sanctified the people of Israel. And then the Rosh Chodesh. Then the Rosh Chodesh you have today or any Rosh Chodesh. In other words, sanctification of Rosh Chodesh comes from whom? From the holiness of the people. When by Shabbat we say Mekadesh HaShabbat. And let's say when you have a Shabbat, which is also Yom Tov, or Rosh Chodesh, then we say HaMekadesh HaShabbat v'Yisrael Bazmanim. Hashem sanctifies the Shabbat, the people of Israel, and the special times. In other words, the Shabbat is it's fixed in heaven, but it doesn't mean just it's fixed. It means Shabbat refers to, like, we've got to look at time as being a set of concepts that apply all the time. Rav Hirsch in this generation where Christians had catechisms, so he said the catechism of the Jew is the Jewish calendar. But in the Jewish calendar you have all the basic concepts of the Jewish outlook upon life. And therefore we say, the Shabbat, it won't mean it's fixed. The holiness comes from above. Shabbat ve'in hafash. And I demonstrated yesterday a number of ways. That it teaches us the concept of the balance between doing and being. That's a very beautiful contemporary definition of Harvey Cox, if any of you have read any of his books. So this is what we yesterday. So it means, the Zohar used the expression, it's hitorot milamala. It's the arousal of the spirit which comes from above onto human being, which we often have. Sometimes you feel that the arousals come from above. And give many illustrations of it. Not only does this apply to the individual, it applies to spiritual emanations that come to the people of Israel. So Hashem sometimes gives a great arousal from above, but then he says, I'm giving you this arousal from above, that you'll start your arousal from below. So he wants the people of Israel on every Moed to meet with him. I said, okay, I'll bring my holiness from above, but you've got to bring yours from below. If you don't bring yours from below, I can't bring mine from above. And that's why we have the Sanhedrin, it's got to fix Rosh Chodesh, it's got to fix also all the festival dates. So that's Itaruta Dilatata, that is the lower arousal. What he said. Now the exception to all this is the first day of Pesach, when it's a connection with come to the Omer. Because, so he says, because the exodus from Egypt is really the fulfillment of the purpose of creation. Because Hashem wanted human beings to develop the divine image. When they sin too much, they can't do it anymore, as it should be. But he wants, so we're not going to the type of existence of Adam and Chava in Gan Eden, but then when they went out of Gan Eden, so he gave a Torah. And through the Torah, which he gave to 3 million of our ancestors, through that, Hashem hopes that people of Israel become his partners in changing the world to a high level. The world shouldn't sink into destructivity. That's the purpose of the people, the purpose of the world. So, therefore, he brought the eight shiburim, but he said, the power that comes from above on Pesach night, it doesn't stay. It doesn't stay like that. Shabbat, he said, Nishaya Rakol al Shavua Habab Yadua. The holiness of Shabbat extends to the whole week. Halachically also, of course, you can say Abdallah till Tuesday night. And also, you can board a ship that's going to even go on moving in the oceans on the Shabbat by non-Jew. So then you can go on that ship as long as you board it before Wednesday. So because that's all before the influence of the Shabbat starts, before the coming Shabbat. Otherwise, the Shabbat is like the menorah, the central shaft of the Shabbat, 3 branches each side and 3 days each side. So he says that stays for the whole week. But Pesach is different. Al Yedei Asfirot Sheva Shabbatot. It's like this. Why should we count from the Omer? So we already spoke of the Omer is animal fodder. It's an offering brought from barley grain, and barley is mainly used by the animal. To teach us, you've got to become the highest level of human beings. And how do you do it? You count the days. You're the people of God. I've taken you to my people. And you wanted to become my people. And your mission statement was to be a kingdom of priests and a holy nation, because I want the whole earth to turn towards me. We say also in our prayers, each concluding prayer of Aleinu, we say, what we want is to look forward to the time when all the nations will recognize you. So he says here, like this, it's important because that high level reached by the people, in fact it's referred to, I'm going to lift you up. We'll take the local street to explain this called Kanfi Nesharim. You know what's Kanfi Nesharim mean?
Wings of the eagle.
Means the wings of the eagle. And where is that mentioned? The Chumash? It all comes from the Chumash.
Mashiach will come on eagle's wings?
Huh?
Mashiach will come on eagle's wings?
It doesn't say that, no.
No, he came out of Egypt.
So came out of Egypt. Hashem took us up on eagle's wings. So you're right on the top. We were still as the angel claim. What's the difference between the Egyptians serve idols and the Jews in Egypt serve idols? But Hashem said, I'm going to lift you out of the idolatry. I'm going to ask you even to take the idol of the Egyptians, which was the lamb, and slaughter it and offer it to Hashem. And you were willing to do it. That means you're willing to knock down the idols that surround you and dedicate everything in life to Hashem. To do that, so I will lift you up right to the top. But that means I'm lifting you up. But you yourselves, in your character, you're not there yet. You have to work on yourselves step by step to get to the top of the mountain. And I know it says David HaMelech took the whole Torah and he expressed it with just a few mitzvot, which we said on Sunday morning. We say it. Mi ya'alev har Hashem u'mi yakum b'kol kodsho. Who is able to go up the mountain of Hashem and stay there? So then he mentions that you've got to be clean hands, a pure heart, not speak bad about others. All midot. Otherwise, the base of all the mitzvot is midot. Is to purify the human character. To be able to go up that mountain, to raise ourselves up to a higher level, we've got to work hard, step by step. You can't jump steps, because if you jump them, you try to go above your present level too far, then you'll trip and you fall down and just break your bones. So you have to go step by step. The Sphira means counting. What's the counting? 7 times 7. Because You've got to feel that. Now he goes deep in this. He says, through the Sfirot of Sheva Shabbatot, Anu Ba'im Le'arat Kedushat Shabbat Shel Yom Yetziat Mitzrayim. Then we recognize the day of the exodus in Egypt was the high power that came from Hashem. If we ourselves do our part from below, then Hashem brings his part from above, and we feel his great influence over us of spirituality. Lachen nizkar Shem HaShabbat hu rak eitzah mitzvot hatfilah. Therefore the name Shabbat is used only in connection with counting the Omer. Utfatem lachem mochat HaShabbat miyom aviachem Omer Tvah. And when you get to the 50th day, then we include in this all the 7 Shabbatot. Yom HaNichla bo be'etzem klal kul Shabbat shekol Sheva Shabbatot, which is klalot kedush Shabbat shekolot Sheva Sfirot. Now he says, this kedush Shabbat goes to the 7 Sfirot. So this is the concept we have of the seven Sfirot. It excludes the first 3, which are Chochmah B'Dadat, but then it became to the Sfirot of Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut. Malchut is the 7. Shabbat Yisrael, Malchut Chag. So all the 7 Sfirot are reflected in the 7 days of the week, and they're reflected in many different aspects of the relationship of the world with Hashem, and the relationship of the way in which the human soul, the human character, can also link up with Hashem. And that's what's called Chag Shavuot. The Chag, which comes afterwards, is the Chag of the weeks of the 7 times 7 Sfirot. But to explain that, we'll have to leave to the next sheet. And also any questions, please, for the next sheet.